that somehow Muslim peoples are represented by ISIS when it's not true, right?
Actually, earlier what we were doing is we held a social experiment where, we had him stand and we had people just come up and we started it was a social experiment, right? So we asked people what comes to mind when you see his attire. And, interestingly, here in the Knoxville community, most people are actually like, I see a human. I see just a person practicing their religion or practicing their culture, right? Expressing, or constituting like their right, freedom of expression and whatnot. So it's just interesting to see the Knoxville community at that level. And obviously, we can conceive that there's variance in the Knoxville community. I'm sure there's people who are Islamophobes, who have a hatred towards Islam, maybe more on the red state side of it. But this is like a downtown central area, isn't it?
Yeah.
So are you from Knoxville?
I grew up here. I've been here for like 10 years.
10 years, oh yeah. That's a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
And you said you're an atheist, but you find wisdom behind dispelling the misconceptions about Islam. Do you feel like it's a humanitarian duty to do so?
Because, I feel like people in power purposefully pit people against one another any way they can. So it doesn't really matter. Like in America, I feel like it's no mystery that, to me at least, it feels like there's no mystery that a nation state that was built on slavery is divisive. And so, I do feel like it's everybody's sort of, like you said, like a humanitarian duty. It doesn't like to dispel these, pardon my language, fucked up myth that like somehow one group of people is somehow lesser than another,
Yeah, of course you'd agree that there is a propaganda element to all this, right? To the current modern day, Islamic narrative as we call it.
Right.
But what's interesting is when you study the Quran, when you study the sources, the hadith sources, the Quranic sources, you find a very different paradigm or model than what you see on Fox News and CNN. If you crack open the Quran, if you open the Quran and do a little bit of research, you actually find that throughout the entire Quranic discourse, it's a very peaceful nature. It talks about the love of God. In fact, Almighty God we call Allah. You may have heard the term before. Allah just means the one and only God.
Okay.
But throughout the entire Quran, he's called Al-Wadud. And Al-Wadud means the all-loving or the maximally loving. So in all the names and attributes of God, he is maximum, including love. So throughout the Quran, it talks a lot about peace. For instance, in chapter 5, verse 32, it says that if you were to slay a soul, it's as if you've killed all of humanity. And if you were to give life to a soul, it's as if you've given life to all of humanity. There's verses that say, for instance, do not kill yourself and others. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ, it says in Arabic. So there's many verses that relate peace, even in the hadith sources. For instance, Prophet Muhammad said, مَنْ قَتَلَ مُوَاحِدًا لَمْ يَرْحِمْ رَائِحَةَ الْجَنَّةِ, which means that if anyone kills a non-combatant, innocent person, they won't even smell the scent of paradise. And suicide bombing in itself is completely forbidden. And this is why Almighty God in the Quran says, do not kill yourself and do not kill others. It's found in the Quran. But it's interesting because, we look at ISIS, we look at these kind of extremist groups, and then they're a complete opposite. They're a black sheep to what a Muslim should be. It's in opposition to the definition of a Muslim. Because a Muslim, by definition, by the way, means peace, or someone who acquires peace through the submission of God. Right? And obviously you can't acquire peace through suicide bombing or anything of that nature. So, we're actually really happy to have came across you, someone who's an intellect, someone who's open-minded and spiritual in a sense,
I'm glad to see y'all out here. It's like very bold, like Southern culture is like known to be very xenophobic.
And honestly, that's why he's dressed this way. We're trying to give a message on purpose, and the message is there's nothing to be afraid of.
Oh yeah, of course.
There's nothing to be scared of. We're taxpayers here. We're law-abiding citizens. We have jobs just like everyone else. We have degrees and college degrees like everyone else.
Even when that's not the case, it doesn't even necessarily matter.
It's irrelevant. Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of your belief, I'm also interested because one thing that we do is we assess theological beliefs and just kind of world views. Cool. So you said that you don't necessarily adhere to a specific religion.
No.
Okay.
Not a religion, but like a social theory that I kind of adhere to is anarchism.
Anarchism, interesting.
I believe that all hierarchies are detrimental to human beings. So coming from that background, that's why whether it's Muslim peoples or whomever, it's we all deserve a better life than what we're being given right now by people with power.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can kind of, we can sync with your ideology. You know, we believe that hierarchy in Islam and the Islamic position is actually based on your level of piety. For instance, God says in the Quran, "Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum," which means you are ranked based on your piety. The best of you are the best in piety. So when it comes to like any form of anarchy, you're only ranked by your level of righteousness. It has nothing to do with your race, your status, your wealth, you name it. It's all about you, how good of a person you are. That's what defines you as a human, right? And that's what also allows you to humanize with the creation, your fellow creation, that is, whether it's the animals, your neighbors, you know, you name it, your family, etc. So I mean, but in terms of like worldview, your belief of God, you believe in God?
I'll say like on that level, I'm really not sure if what's up. You know, I feel like personally, like how can anybody be sure? But for what it's worth, you know, I don't say that with ridicule on anyone who believes in any sort of God. Right?
But your personal belief, you're not sure, or do you strongly feel that there isn't a creator, a God?
How y'all doing, brother?
I just feel like I can't comprehend if there is, like,
Okay.
or isn't. You know, like how you're supposed to comprehend something is when it's just there.
So earlier you were saying that you're